when you're in a PhD program, 1 year is a very significant time interval. You see a lot of change in yourself, right? If you enjoy doing research, writing, things like that, then postdoc is, I think, a very good opportunity where you can apply all your learning.
Hello and welcome to today's episode of Decoding PhD. Today we have a very special guest with us. Dr. Narendra Khushwaha is a highly educated and accomplished individual with a diverse academic background spanning finance, management, and biotechnology. He completed his PhD in accounting and finance from IIM Trichy after obtaining an MBA in finance from Indian Institute of Information Technology, Allahabad, and a B.Tech from Dr. D.Y. Patil Biotechnology and Bioinformatics Institute, Pune. During his academic journey, Dr. Khushwaha has been recognized with several prestigious awards, including a Junior Research Fellowship JRF in Management, an AF PhD Student Travel Grant Award by American Finance Association, and a research grant under the NSE-IGIDR Corporate Governance Initiative by National Stock Exchange. Following the completion of his doctoral studies, Dr. Khushwaha served as a postdoctoral fellow at Indian Institute of Management Bangalore or IIMB, where he further honed his expertise in this field. Currently, he holds the position of assistant professor at Ahmedabad University, where he continues to contribute to academic community through his research and teaching interests. Dr. Khushwaha's multidisciplinary background and rich professional experience makes him a valuable asset in academia. Let's begin right away. So, first and foremost question: why PhD? How did you decide that you wanted to pursue a PhD?
Thank you, Sanchit, for inviting me. So you have started this beautiful discussion with academics, and I think it will be very informing for those who want to join a PhD program. My PhD journey started in 2015. I had completed my MBA and I was working for in industry. By that time, I had decided that I have to do a PhD program. I loved finance in my MBA, and I thought that if I know finance, if I have interest in the subject, I would do well. And I was also very good at programming skills. So I thought that I would be able to do well in the PhD in finance. But I didn't know much about what research is. And only after enrolling in the program, I learned what actually research is.
So, what were the expectations, or what was the preconceived notion in your mind when the time when you were joining PhD versus by the time you were in your final year? How did that transformation happen?
A huge change. When I decided that I had to do a PhD, I wrote a JRF exam. And that time, I kind of knew that I love finance and I will be able to finish the PhD program and I will do well. That is the mindset I had at that time. But when I finally enrolled in the program after a year, I slowly realized that I didn't know what research is before applying. I don't know how PhD program is structured now, but at the time when I joined, first year we have to go through this PhD. So we have to complete 1 year of the FPM program with PGPs. Even after completing 1 year into the PhD program, I had very little idea what research is. And the second year is when you do the coursework related to your PhD. And that is where you get tested. That is where you learn what actually you are going to encounter during PhD. And once you complete your PhD degree, you go through a lot of courses. That is when you realize that PhD program is very different than what I thought. Then I started learning about papers. Then I started learning about how to write, how to do data analysis, and things like that.
That's great. I think for most of us, the journey has been quite similar because when we come in with a very different notion. And once we start actually reading a few papers and we start executing those papers, we realize the challenges that come in. Because obviously, a lot of challenges come when we execute, not when we read. So,
Right. Right.
so you also have pursued a postdoctoral. I would
Right.
like to talk to you about that. How did you come up with the decision of pursuing a postdoctoral?
When I was, about to complete my PhD, like I had submitted my thesis, and I had actually two offers. One was doing postdoc from IMB, and the other was joining a regular academic job. So I was not very sure what should I do. PhD program gives you a training. You get trained to do research. You get trained to do data analysis, writing, things like that. And postdoc provides you a very unique opportunity where you apply the learning, what you learned during the PhD program, but you don't have a teaching responsibility. So you can devote your entire time to do just research. And this postdoc program was for only for 1 year. And the salary that they were offering was close to what one would get as assistant professor at grade 2. So these things made my decision easier. And one more important thing that I would like to add is that after spending 5 years in a PhD program, I understood the importance of a mentor. When I interacted with the mentors at the time of the interview for the postdoc position, I kind of decided that if I get this opportunity, I would take it because I found that they're good people and easy to work with.
As far as is concerned, or PhD journey and post PhD journey is concerned, having good mentors obviously helps us a lot. If today somebody is deciding should I go for a postdoc or not, so what are the factors that this person should keep in mind to take this decision?
So that decision should be taken towards the end of the PhD program. When you are in a PhD program, 1 year is a very significant time interval. You see a lot of change in yourself, right? So one should take that call towards the end. If you enjoy doing research, writing, things like that, then postdoc is, I think, a very good opportunity where you can apply all your learning, whatever training that you have received during the PhD program, you can apply that learning into that 1 year period or 1.5 year period. You can try to publish few good papers from your PhD and new papers as well, right? So I think one can think about doing a postdoc after their PhD, but it's a very individual decision because by that time you also get bit tired of doing the same thing again, and then you have to do the same thing for one more year. So that's a very individual decision.
It is difficult. So some of our viewers are also students who are in their very nascent stages of PhD, or perhaps are considering to join PhD. Could you, for those students or those viewers, elaborate a little on what exactly happens in a postdoc?
So deciding whether to decide a postdoc or not, like I said, can be taken only when you're in a final stage of completing your PhD. If you are planning to do a PhD, just go for it. Don't think about postdoc, right? So you should think about postdoc only in the last year of your PhD program. Then only you can make a very informed decision. When I was in second year or third year, I would have never thought that I'm going to do a postdoc.
That's actually very helpful. So, as I understand, postdoc involves you working closely with one or two professors on some
Right,
new
right,
assignment which or new project which they have been working on. But
right,
as you're finishing your PhD, you also have at least three essays of your own which you have been working on,
right.
which you're trying to finalize and send to journals. So, how do you balance your existing work versus this new work which comes up with postdoc?
So by the time you have completed your PhD, you may have submitted one or two papers in some journal, right? And during postdoc, you start a fresh project. If your target is to publish in a good academic journal, then it takes about 2 to 3 years minimum. And then whatever project that you are starting in your postdoc will get published only after 2 to 3 years. So when I started my PhD program, I started completely a new research idea, and the requirement was that I had to submit one working paper at the end of the postdoc program, right? So I focused on that, and my PhD projects, I think two of my papers were under review. I was able to manage both.
But must have taken a considerable amount of time management skills.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It is.
Maybe on that note, if you could share some tips or tricks or life hacks, as we call it, in terms of how, as PhD students or as assistant professors later, we can manage to be more productive or use our time more efficiently, or things which can help us get more out of the same effort. So, some things which have helped you on this journey.
So I don't know whether it can be called as hacks, but I will tell you few things that I do. PhD is very broad, and there are too many things happening at the same time that it's very easy to get lost. What I do is I try to break my problems or the things that I'm doing into smaller goals. Instead of thinking too much during PhD, what I did was that I asked myself, what are the things that I need in order to do good research? So the answer that I got was I need to learn how to write well. I need to learn how to do good data analysis, and I need to come up with good ideas. Three things that you will do. Now, coming up with good ideas takes time. You learn it over time, and you can always take help of your seniors. You can always take help of your mentors. You can also take help of your batchmates. But the two skills, one is the writing and one is the data analysis. You try to improve as much as you can. And once you become good at these two things, then I think you can do well in your PhD and even afterwards. I would look back, for example, if today is 16th May 2024, I would look back. What was my attitude? What was my thinking 1 year ago? for example, 16 May 2023. Try to see the change in yourself, what you were able to achieve, not only in the terms of tangible outputs, how your approach changed, what was your attitude towards the academia, what was your attitude towards PhD program, what was your attitude towards the research journey. What you will see is that there's a very significant change in that 1 year, and that helps you going, that motivates you. These are the things that I tried during my PhD, and it helped.
That's actually helpful for students, and I think especially those in advanced stages also. And this journey of reflecting back on where you were and how you've evolved since then, I think it also helps us appreciate ourselves a little more. And obviously, as you mentioned, that acts as a good motivator going forward. So now that like somebody has decided, okay, I want to do a postdoc after my PhD, how do you go about choosing which college to apply at, which institution to apply at, or which professors to work with, or how do you get these applications or vacancies where these opportunities are available?
You can get all that information from your network. You have batchmates. Probably they are also looking for similar jobs. So you get information from them. There is enough help available online. You asked me how to choose the institute. There are so many individual factors, right? It could be location, whether you are somebody who likes research, you want to join an institute which gives you enough time to do research, where there is a relatively less teaching load, or you are somebody who like teaching a lot, then you join institute gives more attention to teaching. And so it's a very individual choice, and answer to some of these questions you will automatically get by the time you finish your PhD.
That's again very insightful. I think that is where experience matters. So you're currently with Ahmedabad University. How are you adjusting to the teaching environment versus research? How are you managing that time?
So, like I said, Ahmedabad University is a research-oriented university where there's a lot of focus, there's a lot of motivation to do good research. We get enough time to spend on research projects. So that was one reason why I joined this university. And then we are also encouraged to teach undergraduate students, postgraduate students. We have also a PhD program. The university provides you enough resources, enough support for us to do good research as well as good teaching.
That's really good to hear. How would you contrast your life as a PhD student versus now as an assistant professor? It was research then, it is research now. How
Yeah.
have things
Yeah.
changed?
Yeah. So the one big change is that as a PhD student or as a postdoc candidate, I had to do only research, right? And here I have to do teaching as well. A lot of time goes into teaching, but during my PhD or postdoc, you can spend your entire time doing the research. This is where the importance of postdoc comes, right? So PhD is a training period, and from PhD, if you're directly taking a teaching position, then you have to do research as well as you have to teach. But then postdoc provides a very good time where you have received the training and you're dedicating your entire time for research, right? So that is where postdoc very kind of helpful.
Wonderful. What advice would you give to somebody who's in middle of their PhD course right now, especially how to proceed? What are the kind of career opportunities? How do you evaluate what is the best option for you? And most
Right.
importantly, balancing personal life with academic or professional life.
PhD journey is kind of very lonely. So try to interact with your batchmates. One must share all the challenges and difficulties that you are facing. One must share with fellow PhD candidates. And it is very important because what you realize is that everyone is going through very similar challenges, but not enough people are discussing it. So if you share your challenges or difficulties that you are facing, that gives you kind of that you're not alone. So everyone is facing similar challenges. It helps you. Once you try to break their problems into smaller challenges, instead of thinking too much about which research idea I should choose, or instead of thinking about that I have to complete 3 research essays, what one can do is focus on just one research question. So if you have completed your comprehensive examination, find a good research question, work on it, try to develop into a paper. And by the time you have developed the paper, what you will see is that there are multiple research questions coming from the same paper. Then you don't have to look for the second and third research question. So instead of worrying about that I have to come up with three such questions, just start with one that you have. Try to improve your skills, writing skills, data analysis skills. These are very important. So instead of thinking too much about this paper, that paper, or this challenge or that challenge, just think about what are the things that you need to do in order to do a better research and how can you improve your skills.
How does somebody with a PhD in finance manage their money? So I would
Okay.
like you to start with like pre-PhD days, during PhD when we had stipend coming in, and currently now that you've moved to full-time position as an assistant professor. How has that money management scenario changed?
During PhD program, you get very little stipend, right? So there's not enough money left for you to invest, especially if you have a family. I got married during my PhD, and whatever stipend I was getting, I used to spend the entire money. But now, once I've joined the institute, so there you have sufficient money coming in, and then you can think about investing. So I did not do any investment during my PhD, not during postdoc. So I started all my investment only after I joined the this position here at Ahmedabad University. So what I do is I'm a long-term investor. I don't buy and sell very frequently. Right. So once I have picked a stock and I would keep it for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, even more. Which stock to buy? You can use your financial knowledge to decide that. But once I have bought it, I don't think too much about it. And on a safer side, you can always invest in mutual funds. So there is also one benefit of being a long-term investor because you don't have to constantly think about your investments. Once you have found a good stock, invest and forget. Because I have seen people who actively trade, so they are constantly looking at their mobile screens, so there's a lot of time and energy goes into it, so personally I'm not that kind of person. Once I invest, I keep it for a long time.
Has the research part of your life, where you've read research papers or the research that you have done, has any of that influenced the way you look at investments as a whole?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. For example, I work in the corporate governance area, right? So I'm familiar with the corporate governance problems a company is facing, right? So whenever I invest, I will check whether the what kind of governance structure the company has and few other factors as well. So it definitely helps.
The practical application of the academic research.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, that was great. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for joining us today and sharing all these insights. And thank you for being so frank and so open with us. I'm sure our
Thank
viewers
you.
will really appreciate it. And I also kind of really enjoyed interacting with you today.
Thank you, Sanjit.